Welcome to Fireteam Chat, IGN's Destiny show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Joining me in the studio today is CJ Gibson.
What's up?
Fran Mirabella.
To my right, Destin Legary. Hey,
That's
Guardians.
right. And that is Sean Finnegan.
Hello.
Oh,
Conservative.
baited.
I appreciate not having the chops. On today's show, we're actually going to be discussing the Faction Rally changes, thankfully. We're going to be talking about the stat changes from last week. We're going to kind of dive into them a little bit. And there's some strike reward changes coming up, and Bungie actually wants to know what we think about it, so we're going to tell them right now. Guys, let's start with the Faction Rally changes and why I think that is a positive. I think we have needed an overhaul of a lot of the systems in Destiny, including Faction Rallies. They're just not interesting. And I think that stems from the sandbox problems, which are being addressed starting next week.
Yeah.
We're about to fall.
March 27th.
Yeah. So real quick to recap, what they said was they're going on vacation. This current event will end on April 3rd. If you're missing any emblems, you will need to pledge to the faction you are missing before March 27th. So here's some of the stuff that they say about faction rallies.
Faction Rallies are going on vacation. You made it sound like Bungie was. I was
Yeah,
like,
you
good
did.
timing, right before the big release. I was like,
Rallies.
they're not
Retract
going on
that.
vacation. That's not a good
Faction
idea
Rallies.
right now. Correction.
Anyway, so they say pledging to a faction should be a meaningful choice. Agree. And right now it's hollow, except for CJ, who loves Dead Orbit, and he's wrong. Rewards should not be time gated. I don't know if I agree with that one, unless they mean like seasons.
I think they're just talking about some of the challenges to get this stuff is only within like the week, right? And it's been very challenging to do that.
Yeah.
I think.
I think what they mean is they're going to just have factions available at all times. Because
That's what I'm
remember
getting at,
Destiny
like-
1, I think that's a better system.
Maybe, yeah. But that's
I
what-
would
and
love that.
to only have a few days that you can pick out of the week right now to get all this stuff. Well, and also it's just not, as they're addressing, there's just not enough stuff to do and reasons to get it.
Yeah.
You just need more time and more reasons.
I think they should be available all the time, and then they should do special featured events where they fight against each other.
And wouldn't it be
As
cool
should.
if those special events somehow tied into the narrative of the game? Because that would
Yes.
be really cool.
It sure would.
That's a new
Sean.
idea.
When you
That's a good
pledge,
one.
Sean, they talk to you when you pledge.
Definitely. Next up, Faction Rally should provide a unique gameplay experience and not simply be a reward layer on
Right.
top of the existing game. Wow, like a narrative.
Yeah,
That's
tying
what
it
you
into the
mean.
game somehow. Yeah,
But even if it's not narrative, like a special mode or whatever, like Iron Banner was that before, you know,
Yeah.
it was more than just some reward layer. I think that seemingly is where they're going with it. I don't know what that means,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, and again, I wrote some notes here about some of the things Destiny 2 had misstep-wise, and it all sort of stems from the flattening of the sandbox of the weapons. And I think that kind of branched out to everything else. Some of the notes I put were, sorry, where is my notes here? Yeah, flattening values hurt everything. Clan engrams, they dilute the loot pool. Zur is not that interesting because the loot pools aren't interesting.
Yeah.
What else do we have here? The weapon balance dilutes,
I mean-
faction rallies, Iron Banner, and exotics. So because the weapons aren't interesting, everything else is affected.
yeah. So that's the thing is like you have a reward-based game with a non-desirable loot table, which
Yeah.
is like that is
Yeah.
like a huge diametrical problem. Like
And-
those are two things that are opposed to each other, right?
And
there.
Sean, on top of that, they put the only desirable aspect they put behind a paywall.
yeah,
And I think if you break it down in that way, that's why people are mad. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
so your weapons, I don't care. The only thing I want are cosmetics. I really like to make my character look cool. And I have to pay for that.
like how many? I mean, I hate to have like I sound like a broken record, right? But like if all they did was copy Diablo 3's loot table, like. This would be like the most successful game.
Do you
of
want
all time.
transmogs?
I want transmog.
But I've been playing
World of
Fin-
Warcraft.
I've been looking for my grind fix. I've been playing Final Fantasy 14. They have something called Glamour,
Yeah.
where you can make any piece of armor look like a different piece of armor. And I'm like, this is
Transmog.
awesome. This is what Sean's been talking
Transmog.
about.
But,
I
like,
get it now.
It's so
my
cool,
character
right?
looks so
But,
cool.
like, I
We
put-
figured it out.
I can't.
that
I
was
must
it.
have. I must have put like 1,500 or 2,000 hours into Diablo 3 and didn't get all the weapons just for the one character I had or all the armor. Like the loot table is so expansive. And on top of that, you can make any one piece of armor look like any other piece of armor. And then the way the armor, well, one, there's more pieces, right? There's 6 as opposed to, what do we have, 4 on
Yeah.
in Destiny. But like armor bonuses, like proc rates, all of the stuff that you get by collecting all the armor benefits your character in specific ways, so that like, hey, look, if I want to play this type of playstyle, I need this set of armor to maximize that playstyle. So there's something always to be aiming for and to be achieving and to be acquiring after 2,000 hours of playtime. And then that doesn't even factor in that there's 5 other classes and that it's procedurally generated. Like, if Destiny could copy just like 10% of that philosophy, I think you'd have a lot more legs.
Diving into the visual aspects, Sean, it's insane to me that Destiny never figured out a way to implement this, because it just seems so easy. The assets are already in the game, so you're not taking up additional RAM or whatever to render them, because they already exist.
Sounds accurate. RAM or whatever.
well,
Dev mode.
Look, I'm not a dev, but in your Polygon stuff,
your
just
RAM.
put the lore in there,
Oh,
and then
man.
get some specularity on it with a little bump mapping, and then we fix it.
That's so funny.
I'm definitely not a game dev, but the assets are in the
Fireteam
game.
Chat.
It doesn't seem like it would be crazy difficult. I would love to hear why this is difficult to implement this when every other major game has been able to do it well. You know?
Yeah. It
One-
is a fair point.
One thing I really like,
whatever.
so I like that
Ram or
Bungie.
That's really good.
I like that Bungie's being more transparent about like updates and stuff like that. But like, did any of you guys see the 343 update about the latest Sandbox Changes to Halo 5?
No.
Like, it's very simple because it was a blog post and it has the format, like the way they message their changes is very clear, such that we don't have these discussions about like what could they mean
Right.
with what they say. It literally is formatted in 3 ways. It goes,
It's patch notes,
yeah, it
though,
goes,
right?
the problem. The community felt that the BR was too strong at range and it was outshining the DMR, which is meant for the range weapon. Changes. This is what we changed. It's
Very
like,
straightforward.
yeah, and then it goes, and then the goal, what we're trying, what we hope these changes will do, and then it's like, oh, well, there you go. Like,
Well, they-
the problem, what they changed, and then the goal.
So they did that once now with that really big last
Finally,
update.
yeah.
But now we're back into the zone of where, there
what
were
do
2
they
last bullet
mean?
points, right? The faction rallies should grant additional insight into faction lore goals, and it should build upon player interest in lost sectors and armor ornament objectives.
Yeah, so
It's like,
that's
how
you
are you
don't know
doing
to
that?
build
Yeah.
upon
Yeah.
player interest. Yeah, so they want to increase that, but it's like, why don't you
Yeah.
just make lost sectors better?
Or-
Why do they need to be tied to faction?
Or I'm
rallies?
just looking at like, okay, well, this is good, but how? Like, this is just one part of the messaging, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Why
I
are
agree
we
with you.
interested- We're interested in lost sectors because they're a farming.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
interested in lost sectors.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to get my gear, and I have to go there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
for
the most part.
efficiency.
So real quick, when you mention the patch notes, though, I feel like you're comparing apples to oranges because Halo is a PvP game. Like when
Yeah,
when
it's
you're
not like
talking about
Bungie invented
changes-
Halo or anything,
Well,
right?
No.
Oh.
Oh, right. But again, we're talking about a game that is exclusively PvP, not PvE.
That's not true.
Oh man, if only they could
Well,
tune them
Halo
separately.
5, okay, yeah, but Halo 5 has a PvE mode, but it is not. I mean, I know,
It's not connected, is what you're saying.
no, it is like it's a Warzone mode, like so. I know what
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about, but there's less of like an incentive to do that to gain different weapons in it, where you'd actually have them for PvP. The balance that you're talking about, PvE does not reflect PvP.
Yeah, but I don't think that.
but
I'm not
that's-
talking about. You're right. You are right in
mean,
saying
that's
that.
it.
I just don't think it's really related because it's not. I'm not talking.
Well, it has
about,
to be because the issue that
Tune them
Bungie.
separately.
I'm talking about how they message their changes.
I get that, but you're talking about a specific set of weapons in the game that never change. Bungie implements and changes weapons all the time. It is impossible. This is the reason why we have pages and pages of notes. Imagine if they did that for every single weapon in the game.
Well,
That
to
would be
fix
great.
that,
No, it'd be terrible. You never know. There's
You guys should
No.
do a Halo show.
They
That's what I'm
fix
feeling.
that by flattening the values on all the weapons with a few perks that tweak things.
which is true, and so that's the issue, right? Is that there's
That's
no
not a fix, by the
well,
way.
there's no longer random rolls, so a lot of the mods and the masterworks and all that stuff don't feel maybe as impactful. But yeah, you're talking about a Sandbox Changes with how many weapons are in Halo? 20?
I don't know exactly. There's more than that though.
Maybe.
But like,
but the PvP
How many
ones
different
do not affect
types?
PvE.
How many different types of weapons are there in Destiny? Maybe 100.
Well, that's the thing. The archetype is different than the actual stat values because every single weapon in Destiny is, for the most part, unique, even if it's reskinned or it looks a little bit.
So you have ARs. Let's say there's 3 different types of fire rates and such for ARs,
Yep.
right? So you got 3 for each weapon type. I would guess maybe around 100, right?
Yep.
So they have to tune for 100 weapons ish.
But
Yeah.
maybe just to brought back to the main point, I don't know if you've seen their update, CJ.
Yeah,
but
I've
the
been
way
paying
it's done,
attention
do
to
you
it.
agree it could be done better in that style? Whether it could be done exactly,
I mean, it's
or you just think it is apples to oranges.
Yeah, I think it's two different things. Only because right now you're talking about probably specifically more or less how it plays in PvP, right?
No, it's not specific to the gameplay. It's literally just in the style of messaging, which is like when 343 addresses a problem, they tell us what they hear the problem is. They present a solution, and then they present what they hope that solution achieves.
Okay,
It's a
that's fair.
three-part thing that I don't think Bungie does. Because, one, when I read these problems, Fran's thing is like, I don't think there is a player interest. So, one, with Lost Sectors, I don't think we're interested in Lost Sectors as players. We only do it because it's the most efficient way of farming.
tokens, yeah.
So, one, with how they said this, we're not even sure they heard the real problem. And then, one, they don't present no solution at all and no specific changes. Now, you're right. With the weapon sandbox, the 25 pages of notes before, they did present some specific changes. I think that's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah.
I just want more of that consistency across all of these changes. Otherwise, because this just reads to me like fluff.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree. We've seen, like, there's a weekly update, right? That's maybe a difference as well. We're caught in it's vague until they really figure it out.
Yeah.
They don't want to overpromise. We keep seeing it. I'm not defending that. It definitely is confusing, but meaning I feel like part of that is the weekly update. Like, it's just that we try to cover it. But also, to be fair, though, they said they want factions to be meaningful choices. There's a reason. They want the rewards not be time gated. They provided a little bit. But you're right. We're like,
They provided the first third of that strategy.
But you have no faith in what that means because you're right. There's no detail. And I think that's fair.
Detail.
I'm in the same boat. I'm like, well, I'll wait till I see it, but glad you kind of hear us.
I like how Halo does it. I think this is them trying to be more transparent, saying, hey, we recognize this isn't a great experience. We're trying to improve upon it. Here's what we're going to delve into soon when we're ready to share the sort of adjustments that you're
credit to them where it's due, right? Like, I generally just think it's good that they're being more upfront with their updates and being more engaged with hearing player feedback.
Exactly.
That said, there's always room for improvement. That's all.
Definitely. Exactly. Yeah,
So
there are a
overall-
few things in there, right?
Yeah, so overall, just about the Faction Rally note, thank God.
Yeah, because
They're not that
it
fun.
could have
Fix
been.
it.
It could have been. I still think it can be a really cool system. That's the game. And like, I don't know. I come from. I hate to bring it up. World of Warcraft, right? When World of Warcraft came out,
Ding.
it was a big choice for players to decide whether they were going to be part of the Alliance or part of the Horde. And there was a literal pride on which side you were on, such that you hated the other side.
Yeah.
And they drove that wedge deeper because they designed it so that the Alliance and the Horde can't talk to each other. You speak different languages in the game.
Which game?
And so
Which game is this again?
if there's a way to kind of really make those rivalries between the factions like stand out for players and really make the pride element like part of it, I think that would be really cool.
I just have to say that it's awesome that they took 3 in-game NPCs with their own loot tables and gear and cosmetics and such that you can acquire shaders and such. And they've adjusted them dramatically, and they're just going to like take it back to the table and fix this system. And it's been 1,284 days since the vault's been fixed.
At least for the vault too. Why not?
So good job on Faction Rally changes. Moving on, there was one other item this week that was topical. Do we want to see strike rewards? This was from the new community manager.
Yes.
And I do agree
New
that
topic.
the answer is yes, we do.
You mean like Grasp of Malik? Like that type of strike reward in a chest?
So do we want to see them? Yes, they are doing that. They're going to add strike-specific
Yeah, and like dawning level cool gear that I just get from a strike.
The question is, do we want to see that ahead of time? The answer for me is yes, with a caveat. I don't want to see everything.
Yeah. Exactly.
I want to see like 2 weapons.
Tease. Yeah.
But I also don't want them to overhype it like it's this new big thing. It's like, hey, here's some of the weapons.
Because guess what?
Because the community will go crazy.
Yeah.
Then the actual thing. will
Also,
be
don't hype it
uninteresting.
as a new thing because guess what? It already existed in Destiny
but-
1.
As we keep talking about, what's more important than all of this is that it's not just vanity. As much as I love that, I don't need, like, honestly, the guns in the faction rallies, that's part of the problem. I'm like, whatever. I don't really, like, they look cool. Maybe that's why I get it. But I don't have any desire, and very few people are talking about you have to get it. So they need to fix that. And I was going to say for armor, it would be cool to have strike-specific things, maybe.
Yeah.
You get that gear, it helps you in Pyramidian strike or whatever. So.
But so it's weird because I keep thinking like, and I mean, I like random rolls. I know you guys have gone back and forth on it. To me, it's like, I feel like
Bell
it's
moment.
a double standard here. You're saying you want that special gun, but yet you guys were not a big fan of random rolls. So how do
but
you have
What
that?
do you, well,
There's
we
two-
100% are fans of random rolls.
When
There's-
we
Gotta
100%.
hold on,
I'm the
when
one
we
who-
heard that they were not doing
What a
random
politician.
rolls, when we heard that they were not doing random rolls, I was like, all right, sure, let's try it out. It sucks. So they need to do something.
And I was like, for the record, I was like, listen, I understand why random rolls are desirable, and if you get rid of random rolls, you have to address what people want about random rolls in a different way, which is quadruple the size of the loot
This is
table.
a much longer discussion.
It is.
Absolutely, I would argue they have fixed some things by not having random rolls that I'm very happy about.
Yes.
And the frustration that I had, that doesn't mean I don't like some things from random rolls that I now miss. You're right.
Yeah.
But the armor random roll thing is also a separate discussion.
It's this problem with perception. The community in Destiny had random rolls, so they're able to latch onto that and say, that's how you fix it. You do random rolls. I think that's too easy.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's something they've been showing that they sort of liked. But, I mean, we had issues with it when they were there, that Bungie needs to figure out a new way to evolve that, and flattening everything is not working. They need to adjust it. And hopefully these exotic changes are a peak.
Well, because-
into how
And
they can
mods,
make
man.
certain
Yeah,
weapons
mods is a great-
interesting. Mods 2.0 way later. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's a different game, different system, like we keep talking about.
Exactly.
But like, yeah,
to
you got to
fix that.
recognize what random rolls presented that people liked, which was like you could get a good gun and you felt great
a
for
god
getting a
roll.
reward.
Yeah, the
But then
chase.
there was always, okay, but this isn't the perfect roll.
Right,
Like
yeah.
there's still room for improvement. There's the chase. You're
Or-
right. Flattening, Destin's right. Flattening those, removing that like extra level that players could progress through, undid that chase, and that
Totally,
makes it boring.
but part of it is
Yeah.
they give away everything. It's not like there is an amazing gun that like is hard to get. Not well, other than Legend of Acreus, which is just a hard
Yeah.
quest. But there's just not a lot of that, which also it creates that problem. You just got everything.
The root problem across the board is dilution. They dilute it
Like-
with the clan engrams, so like
Yeah.
you don't have to do anything
Exactly,
to
like-
get the gear. And that dilutes how cool you are.
Yeah.
When you're wearing your raid gear. Oh, you got the raid gear?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got
Like-
it out of a clan engram.
Like, let me ask you this: if it was like let's imagine it's as hard as the Galhorn was or Fatebringer to get Sins of the Past, the Rocket from the Raid, and any one of these, Uriel's Gift, Positive Outlook, or the Number. Would you be like, oh, I really want to get those? I mean, I don't think it's a Destiny 1 level, but I think there's something to it. It's just that I have like 5 of each of those.
I want to hop
Yeah.
into trials and be like, oh snap, those guys have Uriel's gift.
Yeah, but
we're in
everybody's
trouble. What
Yeah.
what are we gonna do? How do we strategize to counter that?
And that's the
know.
part of the bigger problem, you know. But-
It's funny, actually, just as you were mentioning that, so I just replied to this. That was a tweet that I said that I was doing right when you
Tweeting
walked
on the show?
No, responding to it's Dylan, I think is his name, DMG04. He was asking that, and my response was opposite of yours. There's always so much speculation lately with everything that's released in advance. I would love to discover some things organically in Destiny and bring back some of that excitement that we kind of had in Destiny 1. And
Black Spindle, right?
well, exactly.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
feel like,
Totally.
I feel like the strike specific loot, if it is going to be one of those things where, it's tied into a bunch of different strikes, I don't want to know about them in advance. I want to have no idea until we just figure them out.
Yeah, like wouldn't it be cool though if Bungie was like in their next update, they were like, strike specific loot. We heard you. It's active.
Boom.
And that's
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
The community
Yeah.
has like a
And you're like,
secret
wait,
to chase
what?
after.
So they're in
just
there
like
now.
Black Spindle.
Like,
That's like a week of excitement.
yeah, the
Like,
first, like the
who gets all the
everyone who
weapons
reads that
first?
is like,
Yeah.
let's go play some strikes. Let's go find what this gear
Yeah.
is. You know, like that sounds
exactly.
cool, man.
So I would rather that. And even I
They're
think
active. Here's a tease: a headshot, and then he turns into like Smurf or
Confetti.
something. I don't know.
or you open up something, and you just
I have
it
to get that
hides.
gun.
It cuts. So I would like something like that. And I kind of thought that maybe Faction Rallies would be something like that as well, right? When they announced all the weapons, it's not bad, and ultimately there'll be other people doing that later on. But I miss figuring that stuff out on my own. And I think with bounties and Thorn and getting some of those, when you did a lot of the quests and exotics from D1, and they turned into that was cool. You didn't know when it was going to happen. It would just randomly drop, and then you're like, okay. And it was a little bit, of a weird thing. 'Cause I know some people didn't like it because it was a random drop. You had to grind an infinite amount of bounties till it dropped. But at least you knew that. So
Yeah.
then there was that along with other things that you were chasing.
Yeah.
And guess what? Like even the grinding of those bounties was different than other activities you did in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you got,
different.
friends?
Well, and Des, I'm getting called into a meeting, believe it or not.
I know.
So I don't know
I'm
if you
keeping
have
an eye on the clock.
more to finish in the show, but I have to jet.
All right. So next up, we're actually going to go over some of the items from last week. Sean Finnegan, you were out, so we're going to have you back in the studio to discuss all that stuff. Ding.
Got to go to that meeting.
All right. So Fran's got to go, everybody. We'll be right back in just a second.
Good counter. Now hit them again. Zone B captured. Zone advantage is yours. Vicious. All of you together, like Iron Lords. 2 down. You're pulling ahead.
All right, so Fran had to run to his meeting. Real quick, we're going to talk with Sean and CJ about all those weapon changes from last week and what they mean. We heard your feedback and wanted to dive into it a little bit better than we did. So basically, there's a bunch of stat changes coming, and I just was so disheartened last week after a bad experience online of like just getting the game crashing 5 times. It's like, I'm done. I'm playing something else until they fix this. I'm not coming back for like a month. And so people were like, hey, I thought you were streaming Destiny. I'm like, no, I just can't do it. I need a break.
Interesting. Was that after Iron Banner?
No, I did some Iron Banner, and I'm just like, I have all the things. I just don't want to grind this. And I was just in one of those times, and it happens from time to time with video games, where I'm like, I need to take a break. And Bungie actually says you should.
Yeah.
You know? So let's talk about some of these changes. Basically, they aren't really changing the time to the kill, but they're changing basically everything else, which should affect how the game feels.
Mm-hmm.
For example, all supers are going to be faster. That's going to increase excitement throughout the game experience of a PvP match. All mods are 2 times faster for grenades, melee, and class items. You're going to respawn faster, and you're going to get more power ammo faster, as well as players are going to drop power ammo. So you're going to be using your snipers, fusion, shotguns, etc. more often, which is excellent. That is an excellent change in my opinion. Players move faster in and out of supers. Everybody's a normalized speed, which I think is fair. But some of these supers, Arc Strider is getting a faster attack, faster dodge animations, and more range. Shoulder Charge is getting reverted, thankfully. Dawn Blade's getting 1 more sword. It's going to be longer lasting, everlasting fire super. No in-air penalties for Swift Strike. Cooldown on dash is reduced, and more melee and grenade energy. What that means is that Dawn Blade is usable. So people are going to be checking it out a little bit more. Aim assist on smoke for the hunter is no longer broken. Dodging breaks aim assist during dodge. More invis time and more smoke time. I believe they added a second.
That's good.
That is really good.
Yeah, so that's a PvP sort of console versus PC change that needed to happen.
So those were the character-specific updates. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, so how do you guys feel about that? So that's basically involving your Guardian and how that is going to change the meta. Sean, do you think it's going to make it a lot more interesting in every match?
I mean, time will tell, right? A lot more interesting. I'm hesitant to commit to something like that, right? Like, you got to see how it plays. But I think on individual levels, these changes are good, right?
Yes.
Like, I can see how 25% faster supers, 2x speed on recharge for class abilities, grenades, and all that stuff would help the game be faster, which is what we wanted, right? Like, the whole no reduced TTK thing is a little worrisome because one of the things I personally liked about the first Destiny was that if you were skilled and if you were tactical enough, you could lone wolf it and make big plays. Without the reduced time to kill, I'm not so convinced that that will be the case. But I might be wrong, right? Like, with more supers, with more grenade and abilities, you might actually be more deadly than I'm giving them credit for.
Yeah.
So there's potential there. I'm glad for that.
Definitely. What about you, CJ? I mean, we know the hunter things, like, they're sort of in a weird state.
Yeah.
The hunter's Night Stalker class is going to be tweaked fairly significantly. I'm not too concerned about that. I think it's going to sort of normalize in a good way how the supers work. Everyone's going to be way more powerful. Night Stalker was already pretty powerful. Hopefully those tethers actually kill you when you hit.
Yeah. I'm trying to see which one it is. Yeah, the dodge one. Basically, that's a reaction to Gemini gestures. Like, that is something that people spammed in all levels of play. And so if you're a controller user, basically it was almost impossible to hit them because once they went invisible, there's no aim assist and it's impossible to lock on. So
yeah, that was one of my things. Was like, it seemed like one of the things as a Titan that I got really bugged about was that I would get the jump on someone.
Yeah.
And whether or not I was good or not, or missed shots or didn't, they could get away.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I'm a hunter, so it kills me every time a hunter gets a nerf because I'm like, all right, I already just have the roll.
Yeah, like,
it's fair. Like, I think it's fair.
Yeah, like, that's the thing is, like, I'm not advocating for one class or another, but like, when there's clearly some sort of ability that like is kind of a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying in every situation if players get the jump on you that you shouldn't be able to get away.
Yeah.
But like, if they get the jump on you and they're good, like maybe most of the time, 60% of the time, they shouldn't be able to.
In Destiny 1, Night Stalker was one of the most fun classes to
It was so
watch
good.
because like I remember that one clip of, I don't remember who it was, but like Probably Lumi, like
Guarding
dodging backwards and taking out a whole team in
Yes.
trials in that moment of, oh my God.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with the no more radar and such, we're going to start seeing plays like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope, right? Like it still seems like without adjusting the TTK, the idea that I could kill 3 Guardians, like
Yeah.
that aren't just sitting there or don't know I'm there, like still seems like it's a tall order, right?
I mean, dude, if you got that heavy shotgun ammo, I think you can do it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And
Like
now
with
that
a
we're gonna have
rocket
more
or
of
with
that.
shotgun, yeah, for sure. But like the idea that I could dodge, roll back, and outshoot with like an auto rifle or a scout or a hand cannon, 3 people firing at me, like I don't know. It seems unrealistic.
It's your whole thing though about skill versus just giving everybody good weapons, you know? Like,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
your skill is what's going to shine.
I think that's the challenge, though, when you're talking about balancing. We did a little chat off camera. It's difficult. I mean, I think Bungie has a really hard time with the amount of weapons that there are in a game to do that, right?
So
So,
real quick, if we're moving on to weapons, do you want to run down the adjustments that have been made, CJ?
is that here?
Here, I'll just read
Yeah,
it for
just
you.
you read it real
So
quick.
weapon buffs include pulse
there we
scout
go.
hand cannons, which are going to be better on console. They're getting a much needed help there. Sidearms, SMG, linear fusion, shotgun, snipers, grenades, and assault rifles. Not included rockets and regular fusion.
There we go. Those things probably need a little bit of a ammo nerf.
Yeah.
And,
Ammo nerf. You only get 1 rocket anyway.
Exactly.
And
And
then,
then still going to be too many rockets.
You need a half rocket.
That's right.
The weapon perks that are getting tweaked, many in PvE included high impact reserves increased, kill clip increased, rampage increased in PvE, damage increased duration, dragonfly increased damage, increased radius, stronger visual effects. So that is really intriguing to me. I love Dragonfly in Destiny 1.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what they do with it in the sequel.
Yeah.
Grave Robber reloads
Firefly
0.5.
in Destiny 1.
Exactly. Grave Robber reloads 0.5 magazine instead of 0.3. There's a time payload. Splits damage. Oh, time payload splits damage 55 explosive, 45 direct instead of previous split, which was more direct damage explosive rounds. Decreased PvE explosive round damage. This decrease has been compensated for with an increase in PvE damage for the base weapons. Oh, sorry. I may have said PvE. So decreased PvE explosive round damage is what
Yeah.
was there. Your
I mean, this
weapons
is all-
your weapons with explosive rounds do not do less damage after 1.1.4.
So this is all cool. I'm glad they're addressing things, but truthfully, like I don't know, PvE always felt pretty good to me, right?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
PvE still feels really good to me as well. I mean,
I agree.
there's a lot of things that I think that people are still wishing they talk about. Oh, looking back, they feel like Destiny 2 took a hit on account of PvP.
Yeah.
Balance for PvP. That's the reason why we don't have the secondary sniper and all that stuff in the slot. Now, it's weird. I saw John Wisniewski tweet out, the bridge collapsing with Sunshot, and he said, oh, I killed a bunch of people. So it was great. If this stuff starts happening with exotics and PvP, I think that's really cool. Like, exotics need a little PvP buff for sure.
And I think we're going to
Start
see
doing that.
start
Armor
seeing-
2, man. Like I
That as
can't,
well.
I got so used to playing Destiny 1 with Twilight Garrison.
Yeah.
Like the air dodge for Titan,
Which is
chest
basically
piece.
Icarus Dash now for the Warlocks.
Yeah,
They have
so
it.
they just gave it to a different class. Like, and Titans already had like a combat mobility issue. Like we don't have like a shade step, we don't have like an invis, like
You got your shoulder charge, which they nerfed, and now they're reverting.
which is fine, right? But like that's like an out of combat movement ability, right? Like when you're in a gunfight, there's nothing a Titan can do to like, oh, I'm losing, like whoop, type
Yeah.
get away,
Your
right?
shield.
Well,
You mean like
Warlocks have
the
it.
class ability shield?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever tried casting that in the middle of a gunfight?
1,000, 2, I'm dead.
It's basically like
Okay.
start,
It's really
the
like-
fight, start the fight by casting it, or else
Like
you're
full
dead.
2 seconds.
I suppose. I mean, I will say this.
It takes a long time.
But it does take a long time. But
That's not that's a good tactical maneuver. It's not a get out of jail free card.
no, it's not. But there is some moments where if you play the shield right, especially if somebody's in like
Oh, absolutely.
gap range with you.
Absolutely.
I mean, would you rather have the shade step? Because right now, I don't know how many times if I use shade step in the gun battle, I'm getting killed mid shade step. So there's no invincibility frames on it and
Anymore,
To
right?
answer
in
that
Destiny
a lot.
1, there were
Yeah,
invincibility
there was
frames.
a little bit
yeah.
of frames. Yeah.
To answer for myself, and then Sean should answer also because you asked him. But I think totally the Titan needs more mobility, like side
In
to side.
combat, for sure.
Yeah.
Like Twilight
Maybe.
Garrison, like that's the thing is like, okay, so maybe the class doesn't need it natively, right? Like
Yeah.
let other classes have these cool abilities that make them special, for sure. But I should be able to, as a player, make a choice where this chess piece offers me ability that is key to my play style. And if I want to make the choice to like use that armor piece in that slot,
You just want Twilight Garrison.
I have an idea.
then I
have an
should be able
idea.
to make that.
You lose your shield, but you get that. Would that be a trade-off worthy for you?
I mean, you'd have to play test and stuff, but I also don't like the idea of an exotic item making you make a compromise like that. Like an exotic item should add something really cool because it's an exotic item, you know?
I don't know.
I like the idea of having a forced choice like that.
Yeah, I do too. I used Bones of Ao for the hunter every single time in PvP. I would switch it up the odd time for like, faster res, which I think was Alpha Loopy initially. But once they decreased the res speed in the second version, I think it's somewhere around Taken King, I started running Bones almost all the time. And that was amazing. Like that was primarily what I did.
You got to remember, there are cool looking exotics that lock you into a specific subclass because they perk that subclass.
Right,
So
that's
that's
true.
sort of a positive negative thing, give and take.
Right, but I mean, like, I think like it's for me specifically, Twilight Garrison was that thing because it offered such a key ability.
Yeah.
Right.
Like in PvP, like an air dodge was so key for a Titan before that it becomes hard to play it without it.
I think the only thing that the Titan has right now that really does that is War Rig.
Yeah.
Because you got that AR reload.
Yeah, I mean, but even your mobility, like when you shield bash, and you're probably playing mostly Striker then versus Sentinel.
Well, that's the other thing is like they also nerfed shield bash / shoulder charge because now it's at its best in combat, it's situational.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't do all that much damage.
Yeah.
Before you could use it offensively, right? Like
Yeah.
someone's hiding around a corner and they have still full shields. You can run, get a charge, dive into the hole, and like turn right and just boom, shoulder charge. I mean, that would be really cool.
So let's wrap it up with this question.
Sure.
What do you guys think about these notes overall? Do you think these are going to be positive? We're going to try them out next week and report back.
Yeah, I think they're going to be really positive. Like I am super excited to play. Everybody, we were talking last week and we were saying we were a little bit, reserved. You were reserved in your excitement, but
Sure.
But I think it's going to be really good. Now, I think it remains to be seen about like heavy and rockets, but getting your super faster and even the amount of super that you get when you kill somebody, I think that's advanced as well. So the thing you're talking about with Lumi was at Guardian Con. It was they were playing Control. He was locking down. It was Earth map again. I can't remember the name of the map, but he was basically locking down a capture point, and I think he got his super in under like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Because he was able to kill people, use his tether, kill those people, generate more super every time he killed somebody. So right now, a combination of just being able to gain super from even Masterworks, if you kill multiple people, you're dropping orbs for yourself. The way you kill people and you gain more super energy when you get a kill. The super energy in general, just generating on its own is faster. That's a win because all these things, like you barely get a chance to use your super once in a match right now in
Yeah,
PvP.
and
So
all of you are getting your supers at the same time, roughly.
in the last 2 minutes of the match. So if that's able to happen because you're playing better, that's an incentive for people to play PvP. So I'm excited about
it's an
that.
incentive to be more tactical.
It is.
To make using your supers a tactical
So thumbs up,
choice.
Sean?
Yeah, I mean, like I think I said at the beginning, I think on an individual level, these are good changes.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen whether or not collectively they make the game interesting and playable from a PvP perspective. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt because honestly, like I think it's so funny that I'm still playing Halo 5 like every day in
Yeah.
PvP.
Yeah.
Because it just feels that good. But I want to play Destiny 2 more, and I hope that
Yeah.
it's on good footing going forward. And it looks like this is going to be the way to do it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
For me, I'm fairly pessimistic, but like as I said in the last show, I'm just like, it's a bunch of numbers. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, you
until
have
I
to
play
feel
Yeah, you got to jump in and play, right?
So
and
like,
see.
I'm gonna go check it out. I'm gonna try out the strike specific loot and all that stuff, but I don't think that's gonna keep me invested. I need a big content drop for me to try out these new systems, and I think I hope the May expansion is okay, at least like a
We'll
7.
see.
out of
Gosh,
10.
I mean, in an ideal world, this sandbox change plays really, really well, and it
Yes.
fixes PvP. And then on top of that,
they get people back in with
the May
update.
the May update is awesome and all the
Yep.
stuff that we want it to be. And then what do you know? Like I think if you nail those two things, like
Well,
can
yeah.
hold
get your people
till
back.
fall.
Yeah.
And I'd be remiss if we didn't actually talk about Fortnite really quick, which is, it just had an explosive day here a few days ago with Ninja
Dang,
streaming.
that's
with Drake.
CJ's thing. CJ's thing will be Fortnite.
But I'm just saying, it's weird that, when you look at what is that game is offering, there's no incentive to play besides the match.
Yeah.
You're going for the win. There's no loot. There's no anything. It's the match. Then it's
the
over.
gameplay.
Yeah.
Like that's
Just
it.
the gameplay.
It's just the gameplay.
It is all about Destiny's whole, or Bungie's whole philosophy is about a fantastic gameplay loop. Sticky grenades.
Yeah.
right? Fantastic gameplay loop. The BR charge combo.
Yeah.
Fantastic gameplay loop.
So-
Destiny does not have that gameplay loop really, right?
So that's the thing. If this makes PvP a fast, enjoyable type of game. I played PvP all the time in Destiny 1 with no loot. Loot was not an issue.
Yeah, you had all the weapons
That's
and
right.
armor already.
I had my Plan C, I had my Ice Luna. I played PvP every day because it was fun. If this does that, we're in a good spot, and I hope it does. That's what I'm optimistic for.
Totally agree, guys. That's all we have time for this week. We wanted to go over the patch notes again. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the show. Guys, you ready?
Oh, ready.
Where's Fran? Oh,
All right.
We're all ready.
All right. Until next time, Guardians out. Hey, guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Fireteam Chat here or check out all of our latest shows right here.